Park and the Glacier National Park is simply to address what do we do when we're in trouble in the backcountry? How can we make sure that doesn't capture us, harm us? Because there's tremendous resources when it comes to pre-trip planning for hikers and backpackers and tourists. Hopefully you'll make good use of those, and there's many resources with respect to Adventure Smart, Search and Rescue, Great Divide Trail, and the 2 national parks and more. Great resources there. The purpose of this video is to focus on, okay, the wind comes up, the embers are starting to fall. What do I do? This picture is one I took last September, just outside of Cranbrook on the Occam fire that threatened the airport and burned a bunch of houses. So we've got experts and professionals that will help us build our awareness. This is not a be-all end-all. This is just a part of the conversation. And I've asked these 4 people to assist you and I in learning more about what happens when fire starts coming towards us and we're nowhere near an exit point. I'm David Savage. I'm chair of the Waterton Glacier International Peace Park Association Conservation and Environment Action Team. And with us, we have representatives of Parks Canada, the Great Divide Trail, National Park Service, and BC. Well, I put in BC Search and Rescue, but Gordon will correct me shortly. So I want to stop sharing the screen and just have our panelists. This is simply an informal panel, and I'm going to go around the screen and ask each one of them to introduce themselves, who they're with, and their advice on, okay, when you get caught in the backcountry and a wildfire is coming quick, what do you do? Because you can't call the Ghostbusters. So I wonder, Kate, if you could start with your introduction and some advice as to resources and thoughts, and then we'll go to Austin.
Thanks, David. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Just kidding. I'm the executive director of the Great Divide Trail Association, and of course, a long-time hiker. And my first piece of information would be that cardinal rule: leave no trace. Principle 1: be prepared and plan ahead. David, you already talked about that briefly, but it really is your best defense against really anything. On the Great Divide Trail website, we have resources of where to look for wildfires. So we recommend that a couple of things you can do is follow the BC and Alberta wildlife management websites. They have apps that you can download to your phone so you can get the most up-to-date information. We also have trail updates, so we would include anything like that around there. And know where you're going, in addition to looking for fires, but know, are you allowed to have a fire? What are the protocols in the area? When you're out, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the experts have to say, because we are one of those places, like David, you said, there's lots of resources for planning and preparing ahead, but there's less resources for what do you do if you get in that situation. So a couple of things I think about is my plan B. What was my evacuation plan? I've already researched the area. So fire tends to move faster uphill in general. So how can I get downhill? Fire needs stuff to burn. So I'm going to move away from areas where there's more material to burn. And of course, water is good. So the closer to the water, the better. The other thing that I think about, and luckily it comes naturally to me, is I like to wear bright colored clothes. So if you're ever in a rescue situation, make sure that you have your brightest clothes out, your brightest tent or tarp to be easier to find.
Yeah, well, okay, we're done now. You've covered it all, Kate. Thank you so much.
Oh no, I'm sure there's lots more, and it's better, good to talk about it in depth, but that's what's initially going through my mind.
Just in that thought, I think you've covered a lot of the excellent points for people, and now to start think before they go, what's their strategy? What's their emergency response plan, for example? Austin, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and give us your wisdom and thoughts.
Sure. My name is Austin Hager. I'm the vice president of the Great Divide Trail Association, and I'm also the chair of the outreach committee. I think Kate covered a lot of great topics. To kind of expand on one of them, I think it's really important for us to really orient ourselves and where we are, what lays to the west, what lays to the east, the north, and the south. So often, I think if we're hiking or out enjoying the outdoors, we can kind of have an idea on where we are, maybe just in a little screen on our phone, but having a paper map to see a more vast area, which way is a road, like if the fire is coming from the east and there's a road to the west, we should head out that way. We don't want to bring ourselves deeper into the backcountry, into more remote areas if we don't have to. And so I think having a good idea on what the topography is, what resources in the area, is there a wide clearing? If I can't make it to a road, am I easier to be found in this situation? Water, I should get more water. I should be close to water. But I think in the best case scenario was always making it to a road. If there's a trailhead a certain ways down the road, if you can make it that way and you're not going closer to fire, it's good to just kind of have a big picture on where am I, what terrain am I in, and how can I navigate through this safely.
Thank you so much, Austin. It's just reminded me of, boy, if you start thinking about all of this when the fire is coming, you're going to have a tougher time. So,
Mhm.
and I think the other thing you touched on is sometimes our cell phones and our apps just aren't going to be there for us. So, paper copies, if you have a sat phone or an inReach or something, great. But this is the situation where you shouldn't be expecting somebody to come and rescue me. So, John, if I can turn it over to you to introduce yourself, introduce your role at Parks Canada in Waterton, and your thoughts, resources and thoughts, because what I will say is, with John Festerini and Locke Marshall previously, they've found a lot of people loving parks, especially Waterton and Glacier, along with Dave Romer of Glacier, but even more people that don't have the expertise. And we're just trying to give them a little sense of think about this well and plan well and react to save yourself. So, John, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, of course. And thank you very much for actually having me this afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is John Scheiding. I am the Assistant Fire Management Officer for Waterton Lakes National Park and part of the National Fire Program with Parks Canada. So I think that we've already touched on a number of great points, so I'll try not to repeat too much, but you guys are pulling out a lot of elements of the way that we as firefighters respond to fire. It's important to be aware of your surroundings. It's important to be able to have a safe place to get back to have good communications, to have an escape route, and then in real serious situations to get to what we call a safety zone. So just a couple points to add to the trip planning. Very important that somebody knows that you're in the backcountry, because we can't look for what we don't know is back there. So really critical. When it comes to a wildfire that's in the area, if you have a safe way to be able to get out, certainly do so, but follow established trails, because from a park's perspective, visitor safety will be sweeping those established trails first. They're not expecting people to be kind of bushwhacking through in all sort of different directions. So I think that's really important, is to go places where people would expect to find people. If you are in a situation where there is no time and you just have to get to the safest place, a safety zone is really critical. And safety zones are, generally speaking, places that are devoid of flammable materials, forest fuels. So a couple of examples could be find a body of water if that's available. Obviously, be careful if you're not a very good swimmer. Something like a gravel pit or some sort of an area that has been cleared out. That's assuming that you're close to somewhere front country where there's been a little bit of work that's been done within the park. Rocky outcrops are also potentially good areas. In a place like Waterton Park, where a large landscape level fire has already gone through here, some of the burned areas are potential safe zones, but we caution people as the fire environment is changing. Fires have been known to go back through previously burned areas, so only if there's no other better option. And then the last idea would be to try to find a broadleaf stand. Go to the place not where all the evergreens are, but where all the big deciduous trees are, like the aspen and the birch, because they tend to repel fire a little bit better. I would say that in worst case scenario, if you find yourself in what we call a fire entrapment situation where there's no chance to outrun the fire, you got to do some last resort things. I would say first and foremost, remove any synthetic clothing because that is more likely to melt. So any cotton clothing, organic materials is safer. If you have a rag or an extra, like a t-shirt, wet it down because you can put that over your face and that will help to block out some of the smoke and some of the harmful carcinogens that can be problematic for a person. And then if absolutely worst case scenario, find a shallow depression to be able to lay face down in with your face down into the soil, because that can allow you to get some clean air and some cooler air, like in the event that a fire is passing over you. Of course, those are worst case scenarios. We hope that nobody ever finds themselves in that place.
Well, thank you so much, John. And it kind of loops back to around what Austin and Kate were telling us is preparation, preparation, preparation. Is it I hadn't been thinking about all of the synthetic stuff that I wear when I'm backpacking or hiking. So that's even more encouragement to think ahead. I'm going to ask Gordon now to introduce yourself and your thoughts and your expertise, because you've got a lot of boots on the ground for a couple organizations, Gordon. If you could take us there.
Great. Thanks, David. And thanks very much for the invitation. Been involved in search and rescue since I was a kid in Vancouver. The first volunteers group was in the Fraser Canyon, and I was fortunate enough after that to join the mounted police as a police service dog handler, which led me into working search and rescue right across Canada, and with Parks Canada as well, with the mountain rescue service for avalanches and mountain rescue. So from that, 96, I got involved with RECO, Advanced Rescue Technology, another tool for missing persons, and now it's moved out of snow and gone year round. So I've been working with SAR for I hate to say how many years. You'll figure out how old I am, but you folks have all brought up some tremendous points, and I just have a personal incident that I'll share. I was in tourism one time, and we had an outfitting business up in the Palliser in the height of the Rockies, and had a Swiss couple out for a nice hike one day, and all of a sudden we came on a fresh lightning strike, and their day was involved in bucketing water from the creek about 100 meters below and shoveling, and they learned how to fight forest fires rather than a nice leisurely stroll in the Rocky Mountains. But they were very, very happy to take that adventure back to Switzerland. But so I can realize how quick you can come upon an incident like this that you're trying to address. You folks have made some excellent points, and it is a lot about preparation, and whether it be avalanche or a missing person, I always say that the rescue or the response starts long before the incident, and that is so true in avalanche of preparing yourself with equipment and information. And Adventure Smart has some tremendous resources. The 3 T's in Adventure Smart: trip plan, training, and take the essentials, I think really are applicable here. Please look at those resources. There's 3 videos actually on wildfire response over the last 3 or 4 years. And the most recent one is involving the recent Panorama rescue, where a group of hikers found themselves out in the very type of incident you're talking about, David, or what we're all talking about here. So that is a great place to direct people to look at the Adventure Smart resources. Trip plans are crucial. Letting people know where you're going. I'm just repeating it because I think it is one of the more crucial things. And the trip planning, looking at your other maps, looking at your plan B if you do get caught, and looking at the resources. The BC Wildfire Service in British Columbia app is phenomenal for tracking fires, tracking restricted areas, tracking the actual fire hazard at the time. I'm not sure exactly what's available in Alberta, but I'm sure there's something similar over there. I think Parks Canada, you must have on your website current restrictions and current closed areas and that type of thing. These are all the things you need to look at when you're planning your trip and sitting down. And sort of the 330s is a crucial way to figure out if you really want to go hiking at this time or not. And 30 is 30 degrees, 30% relative humidity, and a temperature of wind above 30 kilometers an hour. And those, if you have those three things, it's extremely crucial to really reconsider whether you're going to actually venture out in a backcountry adventure when that's in the forecast or happening. My wildfire experience comes from the last 3 years. I've worked in a position with BC Wildfire Service with the incident management team as rancher liaison, and that's to I guess to make it simple. Our job is to get in between an information conduit between the incident management team and the ranchers and the Crown land users and the outfitters and the Crown people to take the right messages from the incident management team, real-time information back to the folks in the backcountry, and from the backcountry, like where the ranchers, some of the current weather idiosyncrasies they know by being on the land for 30, 40 years, and it helps them with their operation and planning. So I've only got 3 years wildfire experience, but I've learned an awful lot in the last 3 years. It's been a pretty active classroom to work in. Training is I think is learning how to use your communication devices, using their options for communicating back, and making sure you have something other than a phone with you. Communication device, a PLB, or something you can message with. And don't be scared that if you do spot a fire, to report it immediately, and also report your position, because aviation resources, if there is a fire, are become rare when there's a fire response, and the local search and rescue team might not have early access to a helicopter to come and get you. So the sooner you get the message out, the quicker they can start to strategize and get the proper resources to come and help you if needed.
Well, thank you so much. In about 10 minutes, we've covered a lot of great points, and I think we'll transcribe some of this and include it in a written report, supplement to this. Any final comments? What else from anyone or all of you?
Well, I just want to mention or say thank you for that information. I learned a couple of good things there. I had not heard that 30-30-30 rule before, so that's something I'm going to think about and look at more. And then also, I did not know that deciduous trees repel fire better. So that's also a good piece of information. And Jonathan, I know you kept saying worst case scenario, but thanks for going into that, because people are backcountry hiking and they're maybe gone for 10 days, and fire moves so quickly that when they left and checked all the resources, everything was fine. There was no fires anywhere close, and it could have changed while they were gone. So it's good to have that knowledge. So thanks for that.
No problem, Kate. And I can honestly say I've come across a situation before. I've rescued people out of the backcountry on several occasions that, again, when they left, it was cool and rainy. They thought everything was going to be okay, and they didn't realize what was going on in the rest of the world behind them when they were gone for a couple of weeks. So yeah, people are quite often very surprised. And sometimes we find people that didn't know that they were missing, that they were in trouble.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well,
anything else, Austin or Gordon?
One of the comments talking to a few seasoned firefighters was if there's a fire within 10 or 15 kilometers of where you anticipate recreating, make sure you've got at least that spacing from you, because fire can certainly move so fast with a cold front moving in and high winds and that type of thing. And as John indicated, just islands of safety, rock outcrops, rocky bare spots at the top of a summit or something, are places to look for if you can't find a water body or something along those lines. But no, I think that's about it for me at the moment.
Well, I want to say thank you to all four of you. This has been brilliant. I've learned a lot myself, and I think the viewers of this video will. So the Great Divide Trail Association, thank you so much, Kate and Austin. Waterton National Park, thank you so much, John. And John Festerini, the new superintendent. On behalf of Dave Romer of Glacier National Park, thank you. And Gordon Burns, thank you for your representation of Search and Rescue, BC Wildfire, and so much more. So I will finish this video with just a quick screen share so that we can see how to find more information about Waterton Glacier International Peace Park, and we can see more about each one of your organizations. So thank you all so much. There is so much more information to learn and so much more beauty in the backcountry.